So, we are quite a few games into the NBA regular season, so I thought this would be a good time to look at some players who are surprising us and outperforming expectations. So, in this video, I'm going to go over every team's most surprising player, and this video, it'll just be the Eastern Conference because I don't want it to be too long, and then I'll do the Western Conference in the next video. This is based off of expectations, and it's only good surprises, so I'm not going to be going over struggling players, but rather players who are outperforming our expectations and who have surprised us to start the season. And the list is based off the record of the team. So let's get started with the Philadelphia 76ers, and they've had a lot of players who are playing well. The rookie Tyreke Maxey is playing well. Joel Embiid is playing well. Tobias Harris is also playing well. The only player on the roster who is disappointing is Ben Simmons, but their most surprising player for me is Seth Curry. I know he hasn't played every game, but his shooting is it's incredible. Unsustainable, but incredible. He's currently averaging 17 points a game, and on 76% effective field goal percentage, he's shooting almost 60% from three on quite a few attempts a game, and that is just ridiculous. So he's obviously providing the shooting and the spacing. There are questions whether he could adapt to being a starter, but he's played really well to start the season. 17 points a game, great shooting, and he's the Sixers' most surprising player to start the season. Next, we get to the Celtics, and the guy who's in the thumbnail, Jaylen Brown. Jaylen has been great to start the season. He's currently averaging 26 points, 6 boards, and 4 assists. And his shooting efficiency has been great, and that's the big thing. Just the shooting has improved so much from three-point shooting, and then he's been killing it from mid-range. In the absence of Kemba, he's been more of a playmaker, averaging a few more assists, getting a lot of pick and rolls, and in pick and roll, his mid-range, he's just been lighting the world on fire from there. Just an incredible mid-range shooter to start the season, and if you can keep that up, then he'll definitely be an all-star this season, and he's playing really well, and he's the Celtics' most surprising player. Next, we get to the Bucks, who have been sort of as expected. They don't really have anyone who's jumping off the page, but if I had to choose someone, it'd be Dante DiVincenzo. Dante is currently averaging 10 points a game, but what's most impressive is the 44% from three on 5 attempts a game. That was a big question coming into the season, was his shooting. He's playing good defense, and then obviously 44% from three is great. So if you can keep that up, he can really become the Bucks' 5th starter and a guy who's on the floor for them in crunch time, with both his defense and his shooting, his ability to space for their other guys like Giannis and Chris Middleton and Jrue Holiday. So DiVincenzo is the Bucks' most surprising player due to his shooting. Next, we get to the Pacers, who again didn't really have an outstanding candidate, or they had many outstanding candidates. Malcolm Brogdon is playing well, but I've gone with Domantas Sabonis, who is currently averaging 22 points, 12.5 rebounds, and 5.5 assists. And he's just been a beast. He's a bit of a throwback with his post game, but he can also play make quite a bit, averaging 5.5 assists. Great rebounder, as evidenced by his more than 12 boards a game. Good efficiency, 22 points a game. Yes, he was good last season, but I feel like he's taken another step and is definitely on pace to repeat as an all-star. Next, we go to the Brooklyn Nets, who again, after the trade, the James Harden trade, don't really have a player who's jumps off the page. I don't think anyone's underperforming, but I'd say their most surprising player is Kevin Durant. Obviously, we know how good KD is, but there were questions about his health, obviously coming off an injury. But this season, he's averaging 31 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 6 assists. Those are similar, if not better, numbers than his MVP season. Great efficiency. Has looked great after the injury. It looked like Kevin Durant with his ability to shoot from deep and from almost anywhere, to score on almost anywhere. Like, when he gets into the mid-range, he can just shoot over you, and there's nothing you can do about it. So, Kevin Durant, the Nets' most surprising player. Okay. Next we get to the Knicks, who may be the NBA's most surprising team and have many outstanding candidates. The two I've gone for are RJ Barrett and Julius Randle, and between the two, I'm going to go with Randle. Just because with RJ, yes, he's improved a lot, but that's to be expected for a second-year player, so it's not as surprising as Randle's improvement. A lot of the credit has to go to Tom Thibodeau, but Randle averaging 22 points, 11 boards, and 6 assists, and he's just a major part of the offense. He's touching it on almost every possession. He's either shooting it or passing it, and that has led to a lot of these stats, but it's also led to him playing well and his confidence going up. He's shooting it better than he ever has, and then, just the playmaking, and then the Knicks have been really good on defense. So the Knicks, Julius Randle, their most surprising player, but RJ Barrett also playing great. Next, we go to the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have also been a pretty surprising team with their good record, and they also have quite a few surprising players, whether it be Larry Nance averaging 2.5 steals a game, Drummond still putting up great numbers. Garland has also played well, but I'm going with Colin Sexton. Colin Sexton is averaging 27 points a game on 55% from the field and 50% from three, so obviously there's a little bit of unsustainability with that, especially with the three-point shooting, shooting 50% from three, but still, he's been really good for them, a really good scorer, and has really helped carry their offense, and that's something the Cavs need. So we'll see how good he becomes as he continues to develop, but 27 points per game, that's no joke, and the Cavs are looking good this season, obviously being around 500. And then Colin Sexton also had that huge 42-point game against the Nets where, from three he was just on fire, just hand it in your face, doesn't matter, three-pointer, splash. So Colin Sexton, the Cavs' most surprising player. Next we get to the Hawks, who, they've been a bit of a weird team this season. They started off pretty well, and then they had a cold streak, and it looked like Trae Young wasn't playing well, and then they're kind of bouncing back. But their most surprising player has been DeAndre Hunter, who, had a bit of a disappointing rookie season, but in his second year has just been great. Currently averaging 17.5 points a game, and obviously he gives you that great defense. He's been efficient, and then he's doing some stuff off the dribble, which, he was projected to be just a 3-and-D guy, but he can do a little bit off the dribble, a little bit of a mid-range game, and if he can keep that up, that'd be huge for the Hawks, and he's been playing really well. He's the Hawks' most surprising player. Next, we get to the Magic, who started off the season very well. Obviously, the shooting was a bit unsustainable, but since the Fultz injury, they've just been a really unlucky team. They don't really have an outstanding candidate, but I'm going to go with Terrence Ross. Maybe not super surprising, but the Magic's most surprising player, continues to play well. A great guy off the bench to give you some scoring. Currently averaging 16 points a game. That's some great scoring off the bench, especially for a team like the Magic, who struggle a bit for offense as they don't have an elite shot creator on the perimeter. But Terrence Ross playing well, 16 points a game. He's the Magic's most surprising player. Next, we get to the Heat, who have been a bit of a disappointing team, and Jimmy Butler hasn't played all their games, and they've struggled with injuries. I'm going to say their most surprising player has been Tyler Hero, though. Playing well, 17.5 points per game. That's decent. He has maybe been their best perimeter player, obviously, with the ability to create and make tough shots, that type of thing. He's playing pretty well, so I'm going to say Tyler Hero, sort of maintaining his bubble form, still playing well, a good points per game average. I'm going to say he's the Heat's most surprising player. Next, we get to the Hornets, who, haven't really had anyone be super surprising, but I'm going to say Gordon Hayward. Obviously, he had a few injuries to start the season, but when he has played, he's been good. Not hogging the ball or taking too many shots, just getting 22 points a game, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, good efficiency. He's just a good all-around player, solid defender, can pass, can handle the ball a bit. He's really helped with the development of LaMelo Ball, so Gordon Hayward, I'm going to say he's the Hornets' most surprising player, though not super surprising what he's doing. Next, we get to the Chicago Bulls, who they've been a bit confusing because they've had some good wins and good performances, but then they've had a few bad performances. But obviously, Zach LaVine is their most surprising player. Just shooting really well, averaging 27 points a game, 5 rebounds and 5 assists, carrying the Bulls offense with his scoring. And he's been really good, though it hasn't really translated to wins, but still playing very well. 27 points per game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. He's the Bulls' most surprising player. Next, we get to the Toronto Raptors, who have also been pretty disappointing, yet most of their losses have been close games. So, they could easily be 500 right now. But their most surprising player is obviously Chris Boucher. Boucher has had a meteoric rise. He's pretty much come out of nowhere. He played in the G League for a bit, but he's currently averaging 15.5 points, 6.5 boards, 2.4 blocks in only 24 minutes a game. So he should really be starting and getting more minutes with those insane numbers. Defensively, he's blocking everything, more than 3.5 blocks per game per 36. Solid rebounding numbers for a power forward / center. On offense, can stretch the floor, but can also score inside a bit. He's been really good for the Raptors. His emergence has been one of the stories of the season, and he might be the best sixth man in the NBA, but also a candidate for the most improved player. So he's playing very well. Definitely the Raptors' most surprising player. I think he's shocked a lot of people with how good he's been to start the season. Next are the Wizards, a team that is struggling a little bit. I made a whole video on how they're not very good right now. But their most surprising player has to be Bradley Beal. I mean, we all know Bradley Beal is a very good player, and he played very well last season. But to average 35 points, 5 assists, and 5 rebounds, that's special. I think he's led the Wizards in scoring in almost every game that he's played. Just his off the dribble creation. He is playing a system that benefits him to get his numbers, with him running a lot of isolations and pick and rolls, but still 35 points per game. He leads the NBA in points per game, and he's really been carrying the Wizards offense. So he's the Wizards' most surprising player, partially due to his incredible performances and partially due to the rest of the Wizards being a bit disappointing. Finally, we get to the Pistons, the worst team in the East, but they have had a very surprising player, and that's Jeremy Grant. Obviously, he left the Nuggets for the Pistons to have more of a scoring role and a bigger role in the offense, and he's definitely got that. 25 points per game and 6 rebounds, decent efficiency. He's the Pistons' number one option, and I think that's showed in their record, as if Jeremy Grant's your first option, then you're not a very good team. But 25 points per game, that's nothing to laugh at. He's playing very well. He showed a bit of a shot. He showed an ability to create shots for himself. That's pretty impressive. And the Pistons are struggling. He's been their best player so far, and he's their most surprising player. So that's it. That's every Eastern Conference team most surprising player. Thanks for watching, guys. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time.